Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 67 based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng left the Chu palace, returned to his own cave, and entered the Star Tower to study the newly acquired golden scale beetle corpse. A huge scaly beetle corpse was lying on this floor of the Star Tower. Luo Feng looked up at the behemoth. According to Master, the Thunder Ancestor devoted himself to studying various Hunyuan bloodlines. This is one of the special creatures cultivated by the Thunder Ancestor. Luo Feng observed the scale beetle carefully. From the numerous inheritances and resource information in the Heritage Hall, Luo Feng preliminarily understood that the vast world governed by the supreme rules was like a cage. For example, the origin continent and the 3,000 original universes were all within a complete cage. The space outside the cage had the power of Hunyuan and would also produce soul materials. The creatures bred in that space would have the blood of Hunyuan. Most of the high-ranking officials of the ancient Thunder Nation and the royal family rely on the Hunyuan bloodline for cultivation. This is a chaotic creature, but it possesses a 10-direction world form that is more advanced than the Trinity form. Luo Feng stretched out his fingers, and a strand of silver thread flew out from between his fingers, flew into the body along the breath of the golden scale beetle, and quickly swept out a drop of blood. Luo Feng began to cut this drop of golden blood. They were all dead, but the blood was so stable. Luo Feng's fingers were sharp and flowing, cutting the blood into particles. Every particle of this golden scale beetle contains powerful spirituality. It is indeed more powerful than a perfect chaos layer creature. No wonder it can cross levels and fight against the God King. As a golden particle was cut, 9 small particles appeared inside. These 9 small particles are divided into 3 parts, each part is 3 particles fused together. The 3 parts maintain a certain distance and rotate slowly and steadily. It turns out to be this kind of world form of the 10 directions. Luo Feng looked at the world form of the 10 directions recorded in the first Calamity life body lineage of 8 Tribulations life form, in surprise. It was divided into 7 categories in total, and this kind of record was included. The description in the tradition is naturally not as good as seeing it with your own eyes. A large particle contains 9 small particles, and 3 of the 9 small particles merge into a pile. The 3 piles are always rotating and chasing each other, and they never touch each other. With Luo Feng's understanding of the life body that has reached the peak of the Chaos realm, looking at this form, he also gained a lot. Wonderful, wonderful, so wonderful. Luo Feng was excited. These 3 particles blend perfectly, and they are also a trinity. There are also many different forms of the trinity. The creatures in the perfect chaos layer are all large particles, containing the yin and yang particles inside, forming a trinity. The basic structure of the golden scale beetle is the 10-direction world form, in which every 3 particles are fused, which is also a trinity form. 2 different trinity forms, Luo Feng observed carefully, and even cut it apart to see the countless chaos secret patterns that appeared in the collapsed trinity form materialize. Can the trinity form a circular form with each other? Luo Feng carefully studied the mystery behind it, and his understanding of the trinity form was also improving. During the years since he came to Chudu, Luo Feng obtained top-notch inheritance and precious resources, so he naturally devoted himself to cultivation. He was too lazy to get involved in some disputes in Chudu. What? Chu Jiho and Chu Yuanhu were drinking and chatting, when they suddenly received tasks from the royal family. They were both stunned when they received the tasks. The ugly face of Chu Yuanhu was a little shaky, his eyes were wide open and he felt a little disgusted. He thought, why not look for the tasks that a first-class marquis of the royal family can access? Even after tens of thousands of years, there will occasionally be higher-level tasks. Dozens of epochs or even longer, there will be a highest-level mission that can be encountered occasionally. This mission is issued to the Emperor. Chu Yuanhu and Chu Jiho looked at each other. It's really exciting to play this game. It's really exciting to play this heavenly mission and rank it. Really addictive. Start the game. Start the game. We have to prepare well for this mission. Chu Jiho was also a little crazy at this moment. On this day, all the first-level god kings and first-class dukes of the royal family of the ancient Yangfeng kingdom received heavenly-level missions. Everything originated from a batch of precious resources sent back by the ancestor of Emperor Yang. According to the royal family rules, the 13 emperors and the second-level god kings were allocated certain resources according to their status, without competition. However, the first-level god kings and those in waiting need to compete brutally. The best get more, the mediocre get less. A mysterious palace in an illusory world, where thoughts converge. The ancient flame-wind country has obtained a batch of relatively precious resources, which are heavenly-level resources. The first-level god kings and first-level waiting god kings of the ancient flame-wind country's royal family need to compete, and the resources will be allocated according to their rankings. They need some help in their competition, and we can help. If those divine kings of the first stage and first ancestral stage willingly share some of the resources they have obtained with us, the 13 emperors of the ancient flame-wind nation will not be able to stop them. We help, so it's only natural that we get some compensation. There are many ancient entities in the continent of origin, and they have long coveted the two ancient countries. The resources of the two ancient countries are too huge. The ancestors of flame, wind, and thunder obtained a lot of resources, but they did not need them themselves, so they left a lot of them to their clans. In terms of talent and potential, the elites selected by countless practitioners in the entire origin continent must surpass the two ancient countries. The royal family relied on a large amount of precious resources to cultivate 13 emperors of the flame-wind ancient country and 9 monarchs of the thunder ancient country. In terms of resources, the resources we use are not even 1/10,000th of those emperors. As a guest official, even if you work hard to accumulate millions of merits, it is far from enough. An inheritance of the ultimate realm. The ultimate inheritance of the two ancient countries requires at least 30 million merits. The expensive Han Yuan bloodline inheritance or the cultivation with the help of Han Yuan power requires hundreds of millions of merits. There are still many resources that are not exchangeable at all. These ancient beings are too greedy. Being a guest official in two ancient countries, it was very difficult to fight for a legacy even at the cost of one's life. As for the royal inheritance of the two ancient countries, they could randomly choose any precious resources. These ancient beings were obviously very powerful, but they did not dare to rob them openly. They could only use some reasonable methods to make the royal family willing to give them some. Fortunately, there is Yuan who gives us, the idle practitioners, the same opportunities to compete as the royal family, otherwise we would never be able to stand out. Without the Yuan master, the two ancient nations will only oppress us even more. These ancient beings chatted for a while, exchanged information, and then dispersed. Luo Feng came out of seclusion to welcome the visiting Di Chuyu. Brother Chuyu. What's the matter? Why are you so anxious? Luo Feng said with a smile. Normally, matters could be handled via telegram, but this time, Di Chuyu insisted on meeting in person to discuss in detail. Did you know that the royal family of our ancient Yangfeng country has issued a heavenly mission? Asked Emperor Chu. Heavenly level mission? Luo Feng was a little surprised. With his status, he also learned some common intelligence about the high-level officials in the origin continent and naturally knew that the highest-level missions of the first-class marquises of the royal family were heaven-level missions, and the resources obtained were also the most terrifying. At this moment, Luo Feng did not know that his master Di Chu had summoned him first when he obtained that huge batch of resources. It may take hundreds of thousands of years for a heavenly mission to come. Di Chuyu was a little anxious. I just became a first-class marquis not long ago, and I actually encountered a heavenly mission. Alas, I am the weakest among the 7 first-class marquises in the same lineage. This competition is very troublesome. It's very troublesome. Luo Feng looked at him. The heaven-level mission is divided into 3 subtasks, Di Chuyu said. The first 2 subtasks are my own individual tasks and I must rely on myself. Only the 3rd subtask can seek help from outside forces. Luo Feng understood. Having to rely on himself for 2 subtasks, Di Chuyu, who is the weakest, is indeed at a disadvantage. If I had completed this heavenly mission 100 epochs later, I would have been able to reach the peak of the Chaos Realm. Emperor Chu was also quite helpless. Even with many resources to assist in his practice, there was still some distance between him and the peak of the Chaos Realm. Luo Feng said, "No matter what, we have to fight for it. If we miss this opportunity, we won't know when the next heaven-level mission will come. One of the 3 subtasks is to fight for the Blood Spirit Gold Pearl." Chu said, "I can only trouble Brother Luo He for help with this task. Only with your strength can you hope to fight for it." Luo Feng understood. There is only one place in the entire origin continent where Blood Spirit golden beads are produced, and that place is located on the border between the 2 ancient countries. "Don't worry." Luo Feng nodded. "As long as Brother Luo He helps me complete this task, I will not trouble Brother Luo He for other tasks in the future." Chu said. "As long as this heavenly mission is completed well enough and there are enough resources, it will not be a big deal even if he lies flat for tens of thousands of epochs in the future." Luo Feng smiled and said, "Brother Chu, don't worry, I will do my best in this mission. I was able to come to Chudu as a guest official, and when I was accepted as a personal disciple by Emperor Chu, it was all thanks to Emperor Chu. Just for this friendship, I also need to help with all my heart. Be careful, after the Blood Spirit Golden Pearl is born, it must be sent back to Chudu within 10 days, because after 10 days the Blood Spirit Golden Pearl will turn into the Blood Spirit Poison Pearl and will not be counted as part of the mission." Emperor Chu said. Luo Feng nodded. "I am from the royal family of Chu, and there are 7 first-class marquises." Chu said, "Although I am the weakest, I have already reached the top of the Chaos Realm. Moreover, my 2 individual tasks also test my comprehension, character, and many other aspects. I am not necessarily at the bottom. As for competing for the Blood Spirit Golden Pearl, there aren't many first-class marquises who can get help from the Chaos Realm Transcendence. I estimate that they should be able to compete for the 3rd or 4th place," said Emperor Chu. The 7 first-class marquises, from the 1st to the 7th, had very different resources. Chu was very satisfied that he could get to the middle level. "Leave the Blood Spirit Gold Pearl mission to me," Luo Feng said. Of course, he was not sure about Chu's final ranking. Who knew how Chu would complete his 2 individual missions? This is the detailed information of the Blood Spirit Golden Pearl mission. I'll send it to you. Chu sent it over immediately. Luo Feng received the task and checked it immediately. Now is the mission preparation period. 1,000 days later, the day when the heavenly mission officially begins will come. The entire heaven-level mission lasts for 1 century. After 1 century, the overall ranking is calculated. In the capital of Chu, the night is hazy. In an ordinary villa, Marquis Chu was drinking alone when suddenly an invisible wave enveloped him. Chu who only felt that the world was changing, and he had come to an illusory world. Marquis Chu. The clouds and mist condensed into a figure, looking at Marquis Chu with a smile. "I have been waiting for you for a long time in the other courtyard alone." Chu who looked around, "I didn't expect that you would drag me into an illusion. The Liangjia Palace, which is famous throughout the origin continent, only dares to see me in an illusion." The figure in the mist said, "This is Chudu, the Chudu that was personally refined by the ancestor of Yang Feng. We in the 2 Realms Palace also need to be careful when we act, and we ask for the understanding of Lord Chu. The Palace of 2 Realms is a huge force hidden in the darkness of the origin continent. The identities of the members of this force are a mystery. It is said that the weakest one has to be at the 2nd level of the God King realm, and it is even rumored that there are disciples of Yuan among them. Compared to the Flame Wind Ancestor and the Thunder Ancestor, Yuan is more respected in the origin continent. Yuan was too aloof, and only left behind some powerful heritage and precious resources. He himself was too lazy to accept disciples. Of course, there were still some ancient beings who had inherited and received Yuan's guidance, and regarded themselves as Yuan's disciples. I am just an ordinary member of the 2 Realms Palace. The misty figure smiled at Chu who, however, it is easy to help Chu who get one of the top rankings in this heavenly mission. You want to help me? As long as he was a formal member, this figure in the mist was at least a Divine King 2nd stage existence. He was someone who could crush him to death with just a flick of his finger. However, as a first-class Marquis of the royal family, Chu who naturally has his own pride. Marquis Chu, said the figure of Yun Wu, you should understand that among the 7 first-class marquises of the Emperor Chu lineage, Marquis Chuying should be ranked first in terms of comprehension and potential. Marquis Chu Feng and Marquis Chu Ji are probably also above you. Chu who heard that after a long period of fighting, except for the newly promoted Chu Yuho, the other 6 first-class marquises knew each other very well. Without a strong enough force to help you, you won't be able to enter the top 3 this time, said the figure in the mist. I can help you get into the top 3, but you need to give me half of the resources you obtain. The misty figure looked at Chu who sneered, half of this is the resources of the royal family of our Yangfeng ancient country. You 2 world palaces are really bold enough. Everything is voluntary. I won't force you. The misty figure said, if you refuse, I can leave immediately and not bother you, Lord Chu. Among the 7 first-class marquises of the Emperor Chu lineage, he is the least outstanding. Even the newly promoted Marquis Chu Yu has the support of the Chaos Realm Transcendent Luo Feng. If you can help me get first place this time, I will give you half of the resources, said Chu who. If you get second place, you can only get 20%. If you get third place, you can only get 10%. If you don't make it into the top 3, it means you are too incompetent and have no right to share the resources. The misty figure shook his head. I will do my best to help you, but it will also take a lot of effort. You take first place this time, and I want half. If you get second place, I want 30%. If you rank third, I'll give you 20%. If you rank lower, I can give it up. The misty figure looked at Chu who, this is my last condition. You can choose to refuse it. Suddenly smiled, okay, then it's settled. The misty figure nodded, now that it's settled, it's a cause and effect. Lord Chu, don't even think about shirking your debt. You can't afford the cost of the backlash of cause and effect. After saying that, the misty figure disappeared without a trace. Marquis Chu only felt that the illusory world had dissipated, and he was still sitting beside the table in the villa. The price of karma backlash. Chu who frowned slightly. After all, he was only at the peak of the Chaos Realm and had never thought of shirking his debts with the members of the 2 Realms Palace. If I can obtain the most resources in this heavenly mission, I may be able to transform. Chu who also has ambitions. He was only slightly less talented than the 7 first-class marquises, but he could cultivate to the peak of the Chaos Realm, so he naturally had a certain potential. As long as he had enough resources, he could also hope to impact the Divine King level. The treatment of a first-class Marquis of the royal family and the royal God King is completely different. There are 7 first-class marquises in the lineage of Emperor Chu, and the most famous one is Marquis Ying of Chu. Chuying who looked at the night sky outside the window. Thus, holding the communication order, he began to contact a friend who was powerful enough. Junior brother Chuying. A cold voice sounded. Senior sister Biyun. Chuying who was quite humble. The great sage Biyun is the direct disciple of Emperor Qing. Emperor Qing is the strongest among the 13 emperors of the ancient country of Yangfeng, and is also good at teaching disciples. This Biyun great sage is considered a leader among the Chaos Realm Transcendents, with mysterious and unparalleled means, and with the treasures bestowed by Emperor Qing, he is extremely powerful. The 7 first-class marquises of my Chu lineage also need to compete this time. Chuying who explained, the task of collecting the blood spirit gold beads also requires your help, senior sister. When many royal elites came to visit Master said, you, junior brother Chuying, have the highest talent among the Chu lineage. You will definitely become a divine king. The cold voice said, the Chu lineage should use its best resources on you. Chuying who was also very grateful to Qing. With just one word from Emperor Qing, Ingho's status increased dramatically and he also received more resources. The competition for the first-class position of the royal family is a rule set by the ancestor. We still have to compete. Chuying who said, do you have time for the task of collecting the blood spirit gold beads, senior sister? Leave it to me. Senior Sister Bean responded, I can't say I'm the best at collecting the blood spirit gold beads, but I won't hold you back. Sorry for the trouble, Senior Sister. Chuying, who secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Emperor Qing's words made some god kings and chaos realm transcendents willing to make friends with Chuying Hu. But the blood spirit gold orb was produced at the border of the two ancient countries. Normally, border conflicts between the two countries were limited to the chaos realm. If the God King intervened, the border conflict between the two countries would escalate on a large scale. No one could bear the consequences of starting a large-scale war between the two countries for a subtask of a heavenly-level task. Confined to the realm of chaos, Chuying Hu thought about it and decided that the most suitable helper was the great sage Biyun. In the entire origin continent, the two ancient nations, and some covert and covert forces, there are only 71 chaos realm transcendents. These 71 people naturally have different strengths. Among those who have transcended the chaos realm, Senior Sister Biyun is always at the forefront. Chuying Hu said inwardly. On the day when the heaven-level mission was announced, the 7 first-class marquises of the Emperor Chu lineage were all trying to find a solution. Luo Feng was originally taking a walk in the cave. Suddenly, invisible waves enveloped Luo Feng, trying to pull Luo Feng's consciousness into the virtual world. Thus, Luo Feng's soul, on the one hand, had the essence technique to make his mental will extremely stable, and on the other hand, it was shrouded by the Star Tower. This invisible wave couldn't pull Luo Feng's consciousness at all. Yes, it can resist the guidance of the Palace of Two Realms. The existence in the dark was a little surprised. Who? Luo Feng naturally felt the powerful pulling force, but with the Yuan technique and the Star Tower guarding at the same time, he was naturally not afraid. The wind blew and naturally condensed into a vague figure which appeared in front of Luo Feng. Invisible waves spread around, blocking out any prying eyes. Great Sage Luo He, have you ever heard of the Two Worlds Palace? The figure of wind looked at Luo Feng with a smile. Luo Feng was secretly shocked. Whether it is the lineage of his masters Washanka, the lineage of Duan Donghe, or the lineage of his current elevated status, Luo Feng has some understanding of some of the huge forces on the origin continent. There are many forces in the origin continent, divided into two types, open and hidden. The open forces all have territories, among which the two ancient countries are the most respected. Jianmu country, Wanjie country, and Dongji territory are the first-rate forces on the surface. Yu country, Shi country, and many other countries are second-rate countries, and there are also many third-rate countries. The forces in the dark appear mysterious. As for each of the dark forces, who their members are and how powerful they are all mysteries. It is possible that the god kings of the two ancient countries are also involved, and even the alien races outside the cage are involved. The Liangjie Palace is one of the most powerful forces in the dark. Liangjie Palace, you want to talk to me about something? Luo Feng looked at the other party. Luo He, you are only in the chaos realm now, and you don't realize how difficult the path of cultivation is. The wind figure said, when you become a god king, you will find that the higher you go, every step is like a chasm. Luo Feng listened. Of course he understood that the difference between the first level of the Divine King realm and the ultimate realm was like the difference between mastering one of the 10 basic laws and mastering the law of chaos. The difficulty was indeed much higher, and naturally it became more difficult as one progressed. In terms of resources, the two ancient countries only cultivate the royal family. The wind figure said, even if you are Emperor Chu's direct disciple, you still need Emperor Chu to give you some of his resources. You are weak now, so he is willing to give you some of his unused resources. But you will become a god king in the future and become even more powerful. You will need more precious resources, which will be very important to him, and he will give them to you, said the wind figure. In terms of cultivation guidance, you should cultivate the 3 origins of life, destruction, and matter. The wind figure said, Emperor Chu can only teach you the path of destruction. What should you do with the other 2 origins? Luo Feng listened. When did I practice the avenue of the origin of matter? Since the 2 ancient countries are unwilling to give out their precious resources, we have to rely on our strength to grab them. The figure of the wind looked at Luo Feng, As for the guidance of the avenue of the origin of life and the avenue of the origin of matter, the internal members of my two-world palace can guide you. They will definitely teach you better than Emperor Chu. Luo Feng looked at the other person. What do you mean by saying this? I can let you become an outer member of the Two Realms Palace first. The wind figure said, the guidance you get in the Two Realms Palace is definitely better than Emperor Chu. He doesn't know how to teach his disciples at all. Why did you come to see me? Luo Feng looked at him. Join us. The wind figure looked at Luo Feng. I admire you very much. Originally it was just for a deal, but when he found that he couldn't drag Luo Feng's consciousness into the virtual world, he changed his mind. It is very rare to resist the guidance of the Palace of Two Realms. This heavenly mission can be regarded as a small test. The figure of the wind said, you continue to fight for the blood spirit gold orbs for Chuying, and give him 1 or 2 when the time comes. Give me all the other blood spirit gold orbs. This is a small test to see if you are willing to join the Two Realms Palace. The wind figure said, I believe you also know that the identities of the members of the Two Realms Palace are kept secret. Joining will only benefit you, not harm you. Luo Feng looked at him, sneered, and said, Chu Yuho is my best friend, and he asked me to betray my friend. Luo Feng waved his hand, and a wave of energy swept across Feng's figure. The figure of the wind disintegrated in astonishment. How dare you? The figure of the wind condensed again, somewhat shocked and angry. He actually didn't give him face. This is Chudu. My master's Chudu. How dare you from Liangjie Palace come here to fight? Luo Feng looked at the other party. You have the courage to fight. I really admire you from Liangjie Palace. The figure of the wind was angry and anxious. Emperor Chu was, after all, one of the top beings in the origin continent. He was not invincible in the outside world, but in Chu City, unless the Flame Wind Ancestor and the Thunder Ancestor took action, Emperor Chu was invincible in the origin continent. Why don't you leave? Luo Feng was obviously too lazy to talk nonsense with the other party. You have no idea what the Two Realms Palace means. The wind figure said coldly, you also don't understand what you rejected today. When you become a divine king, you will regret today. The figure of the wind disappeared without a trace after he finished speaking. Luo Feng looked at this scene and smiled coldly. What a bunch of self-righteous guys. Even if his own world beast, Morosa, grows to the peak. Who in the Two Worlds Palace can afford to provoke the peak world beast? A group of guys who only dare to hide in the dark. Morosa. Luo Feng transmitted his thoughts. Master. Morosa came over immediately. One of the floors in the Star Tower. What is this? Morosa looked at the huge golden scale beetle corpse in front of him, and the realm in his body was expressing strong desire and calling out, Master, is this for me? I feel that its help to me will far exceed the previous Chaos Realm corpse. Luo Feng looked at him with a smile. This is the material I use for my practice. Is this for the Master's practice? Morosa felt a little disappointed. No matter how greedy he was, he couldn't steal what belonged to his master. I have taken away 1% of all the materials from this golden scale beetle corpse. I have enough for my cultivation. Luo Feng said, this corpse is yours now. Morosa was excited and surprised. This is not an ordinary corpse. I'm afraid it is stronger than the ordinary corpse of a god king. Don't let me down. Luo Feng looked at him. This golden scale beetle can rely on its physical body to cross levels and fight against the God King, which shows how special its body is. Thank you, Master. Morosa was extremely excited. He could feel that this golden scale beetle corpse might bring him a complete transformation. This video will end here.